This morning we're going to look at the subject of love. That is a very large subject. So large, in fact, it is one that has been defined and redefined throughout time. And it can be a very confusing thing. And in the English language, we have not helped ourselves with basically having one word for love. There are other words granted, but they're not any more specific than this one, I don't believe. But in the Greek, which is what the New Testament is written from, that's the Holy Spirit chose Koine Greek for the New Testament to be recorded in. The Koine Greek has several words for love, and each one of them is specific. And the word that we are discussing today is agape. That is the Greek word. And it is the highest form of love. And it is defined for us in this particular chapter. This chapter is the chapter 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and it's 1 through 13. And in true biblical style, you may or may not be aware of this, but the Bible can teach multiple subjects simultaneously. It does it often, of where it is teaching more than one thing and it's all intertwined together, such as Ephesians chapter 5, where Paul writes concerning the church and Christ, and he's also at the same time talking about marriage, of a relationship between husband and wife. That is all intertwined teaching right there. This particular chapter does teach on love, and some mistakenly think that it's solely about love, but it's not. It's not speaking just about love. It is speaking about other things as well, and teaching of other things as well. One, of course, is love. Another thing is it's a continuation of a discussion on spiritual gifts and what Corinth has been doing. Because in chapter 12, he is talking about the abuses that have been going on, and it does concern spiritual gifts, of someone either looking down their nose at others or envying others. One of the two is happening in there. But also in this is that he speaks of the completion of the Bible. That it will be completed, which is a very unique thing. Because there aren't that many places that speaks of the absolute finality, the absolute ending of revealed knowledge, of which the letter to 1 Corinthians is not it. And nor does he say that it is. But he says that which is perfect, or that which is complete, has come. And he's speaking of revealed message from God, that it would be completed. Now, let's just look at some things. One, love is in fact eternal. This world is not. Sun, moon, and stars are not. This is all temporary. It's here for a bit, and we can think, well, it's been around for a long time. Well, in your view of things, it is. But you know what? For the thousands of years this world has been here, you're going to outlive all of it. And as I think we said last week, 100 billion, 100 trillion years from now, we will all exist. We'll all exist. Not in this form, not on this earth, but we'll all exist somewhere. Everyone, every human soul will be either heaven or hell. And it's eternity. Now this world comes to its conclusion. It comes to its conclusion. And here, love is eternal. Love was around long before this world existed. Love will continue on well after this earth comes to its end. Because God is love. I don't have to go very far. 1 John 4 and verse 8, we see He who does not love does not know God, for God is love. Now, do not change those words, as some might, of love is God, because love is not a God. God is love. God shows an extraordinary amount of love, and it is the highest form of love. And as 1 Corinthians 13 is going to define it, we'll see that every bit of the way it is in fact defining the love of God, the love of Christ, and the love we're supposed to have. The love we're to have. God shows us love. Romans 5 and 8, but God demonstrates His own love toward us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Nothing about us that was necessarily apologetic. And of course, Paul is writing this, and Paul would have been around when Christ died. He's a contemporary. Now, exactly where he was prior to Acts chapter 7, I don't know. Acts chapter 7, we see he's at the stoning of Stephen. We see him, he's in Jerusalem, he's doing that. Now, where was he prior to that? We don't know. But not a whole lot of time has passed from the crucifixion of Christ to where we come to Acts chapter 7. There's not a lot of time has gone on. He is a young man, but he is a man. He's a man. He is there. And Paul says, while we were yet sinners, we were still sinners, Christ died for us. That is showing love. That is showing the highest form possible of desiring the best out of us while we were doing our worst. Desiring the best out of us, hoping for the best out of us, but we couldn't make it without Him. We cannot. Now, love is the complete opposite of apathy. Complete opposite. Apathy is a motivator, all right. Motivation to do nothing, to be comfortable, to just be bogged down in no feeling whatsoever, having no concern, no care, nothing. Apathy is the opposite of love. Now we just ask the question, did Christ die for us because of the apathy He had? Because He was apathetic towards us? Is that what took Him to the cross? No, it is love that took Him there. And when we read of His prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, which would be hours before, and it would be a number of hours, but it's not going to be a full day. It's going to be hours before He is put on the cross, before He's nailed to the cross. He is praying to the Father that if this cup can pass from me, let it pass. But your will is done. Your will is to be done, regardless of what I may feel, what I may think. If this is the only way, this is the only way. Now, He still wanted salvation for all mankind. Otherwise, He would have never gone to the cross. He wouldn't have done it. But if there was another way in which it could have been done, let that be done. And since the answer was there is no other way, then that is the answer. There's just one way. And that is Christ on the cross. So would apathy put Him there? No, it wouldn't. It would be love that would put Him there. Now, when we're talking about agape love, it is a powerful motivator. Now, there are a lot of motivators out there. Fear is a motivator. Greed is a motivator. Revenge is a motivator. Apathy is, you can think of it like a demotivator, but it motivates you to do nothing. All right, there's all kinds of motivators out there, but this is a powerful motivator. arrogance and pride are a motivator. There's all kinds of things that are out there, but this is the one you want. Agape love also unites like nothing else. Nothing else can unite people like love. And of course, this is the only way to truly have agape love is going to be from our God. That's the only way. That is absolutely the only way. True form of agape is God is love. Learning from Him. And agape love is also selfless. Not selfish. It's selfless. Of whatever I need to do, I will do. And it's not necessarily for my own good, but for the good of somebody else. I don't have to have my own way. I don't have to think that I'm the most important person that exists on the earth. Those are selfish thoughts, but agape love is selfless and puts everyone else first. And here we will also find out from this chapter that not only is love eternal, but it is greater than one's talents, it's greater than one's abilities, it's even greater than spiritual gifts. And we have, of course, religious groups today that they boast concerning of their spiritual gifts, that if they haven't figured it out yet, it's a fake, an absolute fake. You think you can speak in tongues miraculously? No, you can't. You think you can raise the dead? Okay, you need to be laughed at. I'm sorry, you can't. You can't do that. You think that you can miraculously heal the sick? Or somehow you can have somebody who has just been broken in a car wreck and you can just go straight to the wreckage and bring that and heal every bone and bring them up? If you can do that, you have the moral obligation to empty out the hospitals. Why aren't you doing it? All right, now we're talking, in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, we're talking about true spiritual gifts. True in the first century that are given by the Holy Spirit. They are given by God, and it was to confirm the message. But after that generation leaves, there's no need to confirm there's no need to confirm the message anymore. It's been confirmed. And I can show proof of that, one, by every time Christ speaks of the Old Testament, He doesn't have to confirm it because it's already been confirmed. The Old Testament's been confirmed. In the first century, it's done. It's been confirmed. Now, when we get to the end of the New Testament, it will have all been confirmed, and then spiritual gifts they'll go to the side. They're not needed anymore. But let's continue on in this. So, 1 Corinthians 13 and verse 1. Here it speaks of love as motivator. And if love is not the intent in something that you do, regardless of what you do, if love isn't somehow the motivator, if it's not somehow the intent in it, if it's not the driving force behind it, one would have to ask, well, what is the driving force? And is it any good? Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and here comes the next words, but have not love, I have become a sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. That's all I am. Now notice the astonishing ability that's up there. Though I have the tongue of men and of angels. That would mean being able to speak to any individual upon the earth in their language, their dialect, with every nuance. Everything about it, you can communicate to them directly wherever you were. If you were suddenly put into, just name the country with another language, you could speak that language. Put you out in the middle of some remote mountainous village where no one else knows that language, you would know it. And also that of the tongues of men and of angels, and being able to speak the language of angels. Now he's bringing that out not because they could do it, but showing by way of if you had this extraordinary gift that had been given to you, this extraordinary gift that you could even speak the language of angels, of which no man would be able to understand that anyway. What would be the practical use there? Well, there wouldn't be. But here showing that if you had this extraordinary ability and there's no love in you, it's nothing but a performance. That's all it is. It's just a performance. I can't help it, but I remember as a kid seeing commercials concerning like an album that was, Elvis in concert. All right, and in the concert, they would always show clips of the concert. In the concert, you have Elvis singing some hymn, and tears begin to flow, and you hear people saying, you really knew he believed what he was saying. I'm sorry, you paid money. This is a performance. That's what it is. It's a performance. It's not that Elvis was overwhelmingly spiritual or that he cared anything about the words necessarily. What's he there for? To perform and make money. What do you think he's there for? If there was no money in it, I don't think he would have been doing it. Somebody would have stopped him. But here, if you have you can speak all this. Notice the absence of love. What are you? He says, you're just sounding brass, clanging cymbal. You may sound good, or you may sound noisy. You may sound skillful in whatever you did, but there's nothing behind it. It's empty, is all it is. Now, let's go to verse 2. And though I have the gift of, look at this, this would be spiritual gifts. It's in the context of spiritual gifts, which that of speaking in tongues. Gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and knowledge. And though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. Notice the extraordinary abilities being put out in this, because they are extraordinary. He is saying, if I have the gift of prophecy, now some of them could speak in tongues. Some of them also had the gift of prophecy. And he could understand all mysteries and all knowledge. That would mean every riddle, every dark saying, every enigma, every mystery that could be found throughout the entire Bible, that suddenly knowing everything, it's all been revealed. He has all that knowledge, he has all that understanding, and he has faith to move mountains, but has no love. I am nothing. That shows that love must be present. Otherwise, it's just empty. Empty. Do you think God wants us in saying prayers, in singing hymns, in the things that we do and the things that we should be doing? You think he wants it I just want the action. I don't care the intent or the motive or anything else behind it. I don't care about your heart. Just do it. No, as we made mention last week, God is interested that your heart is in it. That you are truly motivated by love. Not by money, not by pride and want to show how great I am, not in any other kind of motive, but just love. And that's a powerful thing. That's powerful. And as we made mention, love is eternal. Love's going to outlast all of these things, and has, in fact, outlasted all these things. And though I bestow, here we go to charitable deeds, and though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and that's a hyperbole, he's not saying that's required. He's not saying that. He's just showing this extreme, which have my body to be burned, that was never required under any law that God ever gave. Though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. I gave everything away. Everything I had. But there's not love. So we have to ask, well, if it wasn't out of love, what was it for? What were you doing it for? Was it so people would remember you? Was it, of which, I'm not going to chime in on a particular person, but it has been said about a particular writer. He was highly appreciated by some, anyway. He was a good writer, but he committed suicide. At a rather young age, he committed suicide. And there were some who speculated, not me, but some who speculated, he committed suicide to make his legend, kind of write his legend in stone so that people would remember him. He committed suicide so he wouldn't have to face, getting older and losing that talent, or that he's just not writing as well as he used to, or something's kind of catching up with him and he's not like what he used to be. And so he killed himself. And okay, what was the motive? Well, I can't tell you what the motive was. He could have just been deeply depressed and gave up, for all I know. But they're looking at a motive. They're looking at a motive. And yes, someone could do something like this for the sake of making a name for themselves. Someone can definitely do this just for the notoriety of it. If there's no love in it, it profits nothing. There's nothing there. Now we get into our definition of love. The world has many definitions, including the idea that the love of God accepts everyone and everything they do. And that's simply not true. It doesn't take you very long in Genesis to find out that's not true. Get to chapter 3 and you find out that's not true. You get to chapter 4, you find out again, that's not true. There's certain things that he is completely against. Behaviors done by individuals. He's hoping, wanting the best for the individual, wanting the best, but their actions are putting them at odds with him and all righteousness and all that is good and all that is love, as a matter of fact. Now, we come to this. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up. Now, we're going to go through that bit by bit. Love suffers long. And we're going to see some other words in this, of bears all things and endures all things. Love is willing to suffer if that's what's necessary. Love is willing to do that. You ever had a fair-weathered friend? They're really not much of a friend, and you realize that. There was a fella I knew years ago. As long as everything is fun, nobody has any problems, as long as everything is great, and he had nothing else going on that he considered to be more fun, he'd be with you. But the moment you have somebody that's got a problem, something where they may need some emotional support, they may need somebody to help them along, he's not going to be there. That's not fun anymore. And he's after something that's a little bit more exciting than that. He would suffer with nothing. He would help bear nothing. He's not going to. Maybe he matured. I don't know. But love suffers long. Love is willing to take the weight. Love is willing to do it for the sake of love. It's a powerful thing. People have certainly died for others because of love. Christ did it for us, for the entire world. People have given away great things that they could have used, but they gave it to somebody else because of love. There are situations where one person puts up with an awful lot going on in their life, puts up with an awful lot, but suffers through it because of love. Is kind. And yes, love is exactly that. Love is not out to ridicule for the sake of for the fun of it, is not to run itself up by bringing somebody else down. Love is there and is kind to all. Now, kind is another word that's been redefined by the world. Kind is a word of, don't you have anything to say about the way I live my life or the things that I believe in or even the way I want to be addressed. All right? That's redefining kindness, and really that's not kindness at all. That's called manipulation, is what that's called. All right? That's not kindness. But love is kind. Love does not envy. And that is a problem, among these other things, that is a problem that's going on in Corinth. That there is, you have two modes, it seems, among some people. Either they are arrogant and wanting others to envy them, or they're envying somebody else. It's one or the other with some of them. And love does not do that. Now, let's talk about envy for a second, because envy is an unusual sort of, that too is a motivator. They killed Christ. Envy was part of that. Envy was there for going against Christ, but does not envy. Envy is where someone has something that you really wished they didn't have. It's not that you wish to have it necessarily, but it may be, but you don't want them to have it. Someone has some object that's really nice, and you just don't want them to have something that nice. Or someone has gotten a certain job, you don't want them having that job. Or someone has done something that you've never done. It's desiring to take it away from them so that they don't have it. And it's rather powerful, that's for sure. But love doesn't do that. Love wants the best for you. Are we to have that for each other? Yes, we are. Yes. Absolutely. Each one of us has our own situations. Each of us has our own hardships. Each of us has blessings that have been given down by God. Now, why would we envy blessings? You have a parable that Jesus tells. You have a 5-talent man, a 2-talent man, and a 1-talent man. Now, that parable is not about envy. It is about working in the kingdom, and it is about laziness in the kingdom as well. But the 5-talent man, now where'd those talents come from? They didn't come from him. They came from the master. They came, if we follow the parable, they came from God. God gave that. The man with the 2 talent, he's not to envy the 5-talent man, nor look down his nose at the 1-talent man. Because he got his talents the same place that the others got theirs. Then you have the 1-talent man. Once again, the parable's not about envy, but I want to just point this out, that the 1-talent man does not envy. He has what he has been given. It's all given by the master. None of these servants deserved it. None of these servants earned it. It was entrusted to them. Now the question is, okay, so you have 1 talent, you don't have 2, you don't have 5. What are you going to do with it? That's a question. What are you going to do with it? And of course, with love for that duty, love for that master, you now work. While the master is away, you work so that when he returns, he sees you've done precisely what he has assigned you to do. Now, love does not parade itself. What does that mean? That means love isn't just there to be seen as something that is showy, something that is there for you to admire. Love is solid. Love is also takes the back seat in credit. Love doesn't want the credit. Love is just there to see it done, not to parade itself, not to brag about what it has done. Look at what I have suffered through. Look at the kindness that I have done. Look at the things that I have not envied. Love doesn't do that. Love doesn't parade itself around like a peacock would. It's not doing that. Love will be humble. Will be. Now we come to the next one. Is not puffed up, which goes right into the same thing. It's not arrogant. It's not looking for the limelight. It is not looking to upstage anything. But love is there to do what love does. And it is, in fact, a powerful, powerful emotion in it. And I would also say it's more than just an emotion. It's more than that. Does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil. It's not purposefully offensive. It wants no malice, will do no malice. It will not be rude. It does not insist on its own way. It doesn't seek its own. It's not insisting that it has to have its way, as some may think, it's either my way or the highway. Well, that's not love. That's not love at all. It doesn't resent, nor is it quick to anger. It will, in fact, endure all things. That's verse 7. And we see someone that is not provoked, thinks no evil. Here is Stephen at the end of Acts chapter 7 says, Lord, do not charge them with this sin. Is that love? Or is that apathy? Is that resentment? Is that the voice of vengeance? What is that? That would be love, and it would be astonishing love, because they are in the act of killing him, and it's obvious. I mean, he's being hit by stones. He is being broken to pieces, and he is willing to say this, Lord, do not charge them with this sin. That's powerful. Thinks no evil. Part of this would be keeping no record of it. Someone has done me wrong, I can forgive that person. And I don't have to bring that up anymore. I don't have to do it. I don't have to bring that up in the least. and we have sometimes folks can begin to unpack the things of the past, that you did this, and you did this, and you did this, and you did this, and it goes on and on and on and on. It's like a particular man, a rather famous man, who it was said about him, if something good happened today, he might remember it. If something bad happened today, he'd never forget it. Yeah, he kept names. He kept names. He kept events. He kept a record of those who did things to him he didn't like. Well, love does not do that. It refuses to do that. Verse 6, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth. Love does that. Love is related to righteousness? Yeah, it is. Love is right out of righteousness. Right out of it. That's why I say love is more than just an emotion. This kind, agape love, that's more than an emotion. This is something that is far greater. But rejoices in the truth. And of course, that's going to require knowing the truth. You need to know what iniquity is. And you can't know what iniquity is without knowing the truth. And of course, the Word of God is going to guide us in all of that. Bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Notice, bears all things, endures all things. Here's something that it will do. It suffers long. It will do this. It is selfless. It's going to do it. In the worst of times, it's there. Suffering right along. Bearing right along. Enduring right along. It continues on. Now we have this believes and hopes. Believes and hopes. It doesn't believe just anything and hope for just anything. That's nonsensical. It has faith in God, believes in Him, hopes in Him, and in all things concerning Him. As we make mention periodically, you cannot take portions of the Bible and say, I believe that, while at the same time other portions of the Bible saying, I don't believe that. Because it doesn't take long with you throwing something out from the biblical text. It won't take long at all before you find, well, that's connected to Christ. That's absolutely connected to Christ. That Christ confirmed that as being true. Now you're saying it's not true. You just threw out Christ. You just said He's either a liar or He was mistaken. Neither one of those is a good option. Neither one of those is good. Here is believes all things, that you believe God. You believe what God has said concerning the past. You believe what God has said concerning your actions in the present. That you have in fact believed His words to the point of obeying them and hoping in all these things. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. What doesn't fail? Love doesn't. What does that mean, fail? Because that word, and I'm reading from the New King James, that word is, to me, it lends the wrong idea. It's not the best rendering in my way of thinking. Love continues on, but prophecies, they come to an end. Love will never come to an end. Prophecies never fail. And I mean, when there is a prophecy, it's going to be fulfilled. It's going to be fulfilled every single time. So in that sense of the word fail, it doesn't. In this sense of the word fail, it means come to an end. Prophecies would come to an end. Whether there are tongues, that would be miraculously speaking in tongues. This goes into the context of chapter 12. They will cease, which right there with coming to an end. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. That is, going in the same idea, it'll come to an end. There won't be any more revealed knowledge because it comes to an end. But what doesn't end? Love. Love doesn't. Love does not end in the least. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part will be done away. Prophesying in part, knowing in part. All they had at the point that in which Paul is writing this letter is just portion. They don't have it all. And they are being revealed more. I mean, okay, just 2 Corinthians is going to come after 1 Corinthians, so obviously it's not over yet. But he says, when that which is perfect, or when that which is complete has come, then that which is in part will be done away. Well, what's that which is in part? It's that prophesying, and it's that knowing. That's going to come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. One would wonder, why is he suddenly talking about this? Because he's talking about this. Spiritual gifts and that infant state of the church. It was there to confirm the Word because the Word continued to be given. Until we get to John writing the book of Revelation and him finishing that book, and that at the end of that book you do realize it's concluded. This has resolved itself. There's nothing else that's to come from this. There's nothing else. You go to Malachi, or the ending book of the Old Testament. You go to Malachi, that's not a resolved book. You go to the end of that, you realize, oh, there's more to come. Go to the end of the book of Revelation, you realize, no, this is it. These are the farewell words, and hoping for the best for you, and remain faithful until death. Now, all that goes away. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I also am known. He's talking about the completion of the Bible, completion of the New Testament. And we have these words, and now abide faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. What is greater than spiritual gifts? Faith, hope, and love. What's the greatest of those? Well, he says love. Love is the greatest of those, of which he's already talked about. Though I have the faith to remove mountains, but have not love. Well, it's astonishing you have the faith to do that, but you have not love. It's nothing. I am nothing. This is in the hopes of bringing us into a better knowledge. Okay, there are things that we can know and just forget. Things that we can go know and just get caught up in the complications of life, caught up in the various things, various temptations, various problems in life, and just forget that something's required out of us always, and that is love. And it is a powerful, powerful thing. And it is part of righteousness. It is part of following Christ. It's there for us all. This morning we need to look at our lives. Judgment is coming. Speaking of prophecies, there's only one left that hasn't been fulfilled yet. Not because that fulfillment has failed, but because the time is not yet. And as Christ stated in Matthew chapter 24, He didn't know when that day would be. Even He did not know. Nor did the angels of heaven know, but my Father who is in heaven. He's the only one that knows that. So when is it? No one can tell you. No one can tell you. But it will arrive. And we will be judged for our actions. We will be judged even by what has motivated us. This morning, if you need to respond to the invitation, we ask that you come as we stand and sing.